Guys, you got to realize, marching band just needs to shut it down. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. That's just the truth.
Hey, what's up? In this session, we sit and have a chat with Mr. It's Not a Xylophone himself, Drew Tucker, and talk about all things life and percussion. I was blown away by the amount of valuable information that came out of this conversation with Drew. This session is jam-packed with great advice and great content. I'm not a percussionist and I'm not a percussion instructor, but I found value in every topic that was discussed in this conversation. So I encourage you to watch it and rewatch it if you have to make sure that you're getting the same great value out of this that we all did. If this is your first time with us on this channel, I'm JR and this is the Studio 14 Sessions. We take over 150 years of experience in music performance and music education and provide insight, opinions, and advice to help you and the activity grow. So make sure you stick around to the end where Drew gives us what he believes to be the biggest problem with how we educate our young percussionists. And I can almost guarantee you that it's going to change the way you look at how you are educating your percussionists moving forward in the future. All right, so a special evening tonight with the one and only Mr. Drew Tucker.
I can't keep him out. I can't keep him out.
So play some xylophone for us.
That scared my dog.
I have that.
Nice.
Close enough.
So I thought it would be cool if we started by like basically us talking, telling everybody how we know you.
Sure. How did I meet the Drew Tucker?
No.
Let me think. I guess Palm Beach. It was early 2000s probably came across. I think probably Dave Margrave probably introduced me to you, I would imagine, or somewhere around that somehow. And just, over the years, just doing band and drum corps and magic for 5 seconds and, all sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, good times and great percussionist, great educator, and good guy.
Man, Drew and I go way back. Drew probably was one of the first people I met when I came to Palm Beach County because I taught at Olympic Heights High School. And Drew had already just graduated and this was kind of affiliated with Black Magic and Scott and Ray and running with those guys and was coming around a lot because that was, Black Magic was Olympic Heights and with the drum, with the indoor drumming. And we just kind of created a bond, a friendship that's like been everlasting, almost like a brotherhood. We've had many dinners and heat parties and partying with people we don't even know, and just it's gone back to since 2000. So one of my closest friends that I would say since I came to Palm Beach in 2000.
Well, yeah, like I think it was 2003 or 2004 that I was at Miami Springs and you came in to work with our percussion. And I think from that point on, we keep popping in and out of each. Like we worked together at Miami Springs. Then you got me like the gig writing the drill for Coral Springs that one year.
Oh yeah.
And then
and Magic.
And then like there was a couple of years, and then 2005 it was Magic. We taught together at Magic, and then we came across again with Palm Beach Central.
Yeah, that's funny.
But every time it's always been a pleasure and a great time.
Yeah. It's nice to work with people who care, just care about the craft and care about the art. And it's, you're one of those people. So that's pretty cool.
He was hitchhiking in his underwear.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one vividly.
Okay. Because I saw him on the side of the road, desperate, destitute, with a pair of mallets in his hand that had his name on. And that's it. The rest is history. So, seriously, I didn't meet Drew till he got to Palm Beach Central. But right away, being a musician myself, I recognize musicians. And Drew, you are truly a musician. Thanks, and besides just a teacher, you're an artist, performer. I mean, I've heard you play, I've heard your stuff. And yeah, you're a musician. And, I appreciate someone who not only teaches the craft, but does the craft. Because Drew is the exact antithesis of the statement, those who can't do teach.
Nice.
And
Man, what's funny about that is that I always say, like, if it wasn't for being married and having kids, that I would be me and Malice at the drum and my underwear. It's all I'd really need, man. You know,
Pretty much.
but I'm married, so I got to have like you got to accrue all. You know, you got to get stuff. Everybody here, man, I've learned something. I think, like I said, Lucas is probably the latest addition to those people that I can count as people that I've worked with that I've looked up to. But you know, especially Larry and Edric, man. I mean, these guys. It's like the effortless mastery they put into doing their craft. You know, it's like wherever they go, it's just like, well, you just know it's going to be good. Like there's no chance that it's not. And the cool thing is seeing West Boca specifically because Edric came out of there and then Larry came in, and just to see that symbiosis, how it all kind of worked out, and see Edric, you know, work the master plan and see the master plan come into fruition is pretty dope. So these guys are all mentors, and you just, you know, to watch you grow too, not only because I remembered you after I saw you with John and Leonard. The last time I had worked with you was Magic and really Miami Springs, and we were all kids, so you kind of freeze people in time. So to see you working and the efficiency in which you were teaching drill and teaching body and teaching all of those things, it's just nice to be around people who care about excellence, man. And that's, you know, that's definitely exemplified with the four of you guys. So it's been pretty cool, man.
Where are you at now, and what do you got going on?
I'm in Kennesaw, Georgia. So I'm about 35 minutes north of Atlanta, or 3 hours on a Monday in rush hour, non-COVID time, depending where you're at. But yeah, and I'm just here hanging out. I teach at Kell High School. Percussion director there and director of jazz and percussion there. They don't have a jazz program. I just started one when this whole thing happened, and everyone wanted to be a part of it. It was like, I don't know how I'm gonna. The issue was whittling it down and figuring out what to do for, you know, state evaluations. But it was looking pretty cool, man. So yeah.
Are they doing band camps and stuff there, Drew, or no?
You know, the idea was like, until we heard, we were going to do it like a 3 hour a day type of thing. We changed direction. We just sat down, and I just was getting, I think the conversation around, like, you know, trying to keep things as normal as possible is just ridiculous. So we essentially were just like, listen, what can we do what's the lowest probable number of things that could happen? And let's try to come up with a plan for that number. So like, let's say there's like 20 people in a space. You know, fine, let's do a blast style show where we have vignettes of stuff. You know, we have a high brass thing and they do a feature and we have some drums with it and a rhythm section and some guard, and then they move off and then group two, or however we want to apportion it, and let's build tracks into it so that if 6 people come up sick, we don't have to freak out because we have tracks. You know, we'll play the tracks from the back, and the tracks have everything in it, or there's a track that we have that doesn't have brass in it, or it only has a rhythm section and only has this. So if, you know, the drum set player gets sick, I'm not freaking out. I got a track with it.
Yeah.
And they're all just used to listening to it. And we can move it up onto the track and just kind of forget the boundaries. But it's like we have an opportunity to do kind of like whatever we want. We don't have evaluations, so let's figure out a way to like insulate ourselves and create a program that no matter what happens, the kids can still have fun. You know, and I think that the idea of doing that kind of thing is cool too, because like my daughter, I know a lot of people would love to maybe try color guard or try a drum. Now, if they're in one piece and they're doing, you know, whatever, they're doing Malagueña with the trumpets and the rhythm section, then in another piece they can do, hey, I really want to do guard, so they can do guard. And for my percussionist, I'm just going to give them, all right, you're going to have a vibraphone, a snare drum, and this tambourine, and that's yours. Don't touch anything else. Don't play anything else. That's your vibraphone, snare drum, and tambourine. And then you play snare drum in piece 2, vibraphone, and then you play this. Don't touch anything else. You know, you have a marimba, a quad, and, you know, this concert bass drum. That's your stuff. Have fun. But and I'll just keep them like that. Mic everything up. You know, I'm trying to pivot to where, like, because I know my band directors don't care to do the online thing. So I'm trying to pivot to be the point person for online, so I can stay home. And just whatever curriculum they want. Hey, we need to do this. We'll bring in this clinician. I'll say, hey, we'll have Edric come in. If the band director needs to record some content, he literally lives 1,000 feet from me. We're in the same neighborhood. So if Roth wants to come over here, I can record some content from him and, you know, then just post it as he wants and just run all that stuff so I don't have to go in. Because, I mean, no one's really going to be – the goal is to get out of this with as much of your shirt on as possible. You know what I mean? I don't think the goal is to, like, you know, just if we can keep it positive, keep everyone healthy, and just regroup again.
Doing any arranging out there, Drew?
Me?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Other than for my kids, for my family band.
Right.
That's about the extent of it right now. You know, I mean, I'm arranging. I mean, I'm arranging for Kel. You know, and I'm not arranging for Boca. They're not really doing much. I mean, I was going to be open for other things. I mean, before, what I actually got into was making marching band preview videos, like little promo videos for marching band shows. So I did one for Kel, which was like a little 2-minute, the
Show reveal.
Show reveal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then Wheeler asked me to do one, and then another school asked me. They saw that one, and another school asked me to do one. So first I was just charging in bottles of scotch, but then I started charging money. So so that was kind of a pretty cool, like, Final Cut was a big project of mine to learn that I was excited to get into. Everybody has 90-day free trials right now because they know everyone's stuck at home. So, just been grabbing some of those up and just trying to increase my knowledge base,
Cool. So are you arranging just for the front or for the whole percussion, the battery too, or just the front?
Just front and battery sketches, and then I have Andres or somebody else fill it in.
Do you have any advice for someone who would be arranging for just the front and not the battery, and how to make sure that both parts end up cohesive at the end?
Yeah, if you're not going to write together in the same, me and Andres used to back when we were just, before I was married and had kids and stuff, we used to write in the same space. Like he'd come over, we'd just hang out and write. And now what I like to do is when I'm writing, sometimes I'll write around the same time. Usually it's a little quicker for him and he just moves a little quicker just because it's less stuff to write. And I'll just ask him to just let me know things that he really wants accentuated, hits he really wants. But usually if you're on the same page with somebody, then you're hearing the same things. You know what I mean? You're hearing the same level of phrasing. You know how they're going to write that phrase. And then if there's something special, I'll usually ask him, hey, just you'll usually put like a little cue line in the bottom, and I'll do the same thing in the top. So I'll have if I knew there's like a thing that I'm hearing, I'll put that in a little cue line on the top so that when we match up, we can see kind of where we're at and make whatever edits we need at that time. But usually, we'll talk through it usually. We'll walk through it. We'll hear some stuff. Good communication is just key, and also get rid of the ego. Don't take the parts personal. I think that's one of the biggest things too. I mean, you write something and you like what you hear, and then you're just like, I don't like. Hey, man, I think that the hit has to be on 2. It's like, yeah, but I got this thing building to that. And don't you hear the way it's working? Like, this is genius, man. It's like, yeah, but I had it on 2, and it's like, no. It's got to be on the and of 2. It's got to be on the and of 2. And you guys get in fights over that stuff. It's like, dude, just let it be on 2. I'd rather it's a better situation if both of you are like, you know what, man, you're right, end of 2. It's like, no, I was wrong. You write so many great things, and you've always been such quality phrasing. Let's go on 2. That's a better argument to have than trying to insist on your way. I think if you can write this stuff and not take it personal, I think that's huge in writing with somebody else, especially if you're in the same section.
What challenges do you find with the smaller bands writing for a smaller ensemble?
Be creative. I mean, the most, like, listen, if you think about Miami Springs, man, when we did that Cirque du Soleil show, I mean, it was just like the sky was the limit. Okay, here's the kids that we have. Here's what they can do. Here's the aesthetic we need sonically. Let's add some big drums. Let's do this. Let's throw this in here. Let's put this stuff. Why not? Why not throw the kitchen sink in here? If we need African drums, throw African drums in it. You know what I mean? If we need this kind of thing, like, why does everyone have to play? Why do we have to have this many marimbas? Let's have none. Whatever it is. With Boca High, it was cool because I had a really tiny front ensemble. And I made them into pods, which at the time hadn't been done before. It was like 4 years before, maybe 2 years before Blue Coats started doing this little pod thing where everyone had a marimba and a vibraphone. And it was just because I needed both sounds, and I had 3 killer players, and then I had a piano player and a percussionist, and that was it. And so I was like, all right, well, instead of having one vibe, one marimba, and one Glock, and that's the sound, what if I have a marimba feature, and then I have a vibe feature, and then they can split, and then we mic them to high heck, and then have some fun with it. And that just happened because it was like, hey, here's an idea. I didn't even know it was going to happen. I just didn't tell them it was hard. I'm like, yeah, this is what people do, bro. Just pick it up. And kids rise to that challenge, you know what I mean? And so they would play, and it just became something really cool and something that had the extra benefit of then not having to relegate a kid to one instrument for the whole entire time. So now a kid, because then you have your best kids, you're like, well, if I write a certain way, I want to put them on those instruments. But if they have access to both, then if I have a beautiful ballad part that needs all of this deep vibraphone harmony stuff, well, too bad I put all my worst players on vibraphone, so I guess I can't write any of that. But now all I got to do is just move the good players over to the vibraphone and the less experienced players over to the marimba to play the simpler parts. And it's just a matter of this, as opposed to, and it just gave them, there was, in any of the ensembles I've ever been in, there's never been like this is the better instrument and this is the worst instrument, because they just had to play them all the time. So But it was
Well, I got to chime in, Drew, since you've talked about springs and you talked about Boca. You need to just address what's Boca and how you did that.
I don't know, man. That was a pretty cush deal. We had talent and a new school and instruments. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, but I learned so much from you and just how to run an ensemble and how not to tolerate any crap. Like, I never met somebody who I literally thought would cut a whole program just on a, I'm gonna cut this whole thing. I'm gonna send everybody home. No, you're not. Go home. What? We have competition tomorrow. It's FBA. We got state tomorrow. Don't care. Go home. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm locking the gates. Too bad. You're late. You're stuck here now. I don't know what to tell you. I gotta leave. That was Edric, man. Edric cut a whole color guard. What? A whole color guard. He's like, oh, you think I won't do it? Now Larry's like, I don't have a color guard. A whole color guard, man. He didn't really mean to cut the girls. He just wanted to cut the parents. But but man, it's just but it's Olympic Heights is really where the fun. That was some fun.
Yeah.
And again, just having educators who are willing to just try stuff, willing to not be traditional when you have a small band and just have fun with it was always what was fun about Miami Springs, all chorals, all those groups, just being able to have fun and be like, you know what, we're not big, but we're small, and just have fun with it.
And I'll tell you, having seen and been able to listen and judge your Boca bands the last couple of years, it's always been really refreshing and the creative stuff you do. Again, you have a kid with like 4 things all around him playing everything, like little pod stations, kind of like Cirque du Soleil almost, and just great and smart and worked really well and just taking advantage of your strengths, and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like a Broadway pit, right? That's what you do if you're in a Broadway pit.
Have you gotten into like doing soundscapes and all that stuff yet, or is that not your thing?
No, it has to be my thing. Okay. Especially here, and they have a soundscape guy, but I don't like being. I like being invaluable. I don't like being expendable. I don't like, I want to be able to do. So even with the sound stuff, I very rarely will say, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." I'll just be like, "Okay, yeah, I'll figure it out," and then I'm trying to figure it out on the fly, and with the soundscape stuff, it took me a minute, but I called the resources and I'm like, hey man, how do I put these sounds into these patches? And someone who I know does it will tell me how to do it and walk me through it, and I learn on the go. But I don't want to be one of those guys like, yeah, I don't touch it, that stuff. Because
that's like the next stuff, that's the next big thing.
I want to get 5 of these. I want 5 of these in a pit, and that's it.
Yeah. That's the next big thing, because if you can't do that, you're going to be a dinosaur.
That's it. I don't ever want to be not relevant.
Like you'll go the way of simple texts.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh man, pour out some for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think creativity is key, man.
We'll get to Drew's biggest problem on educating young percussionists in just a second. So much great information coming out of the session so far. If you found something of value in any of the topics that were covered, hit that like button and let us know. We love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions for Drew or anyone on the Studio 14 team, make sure you put it in the comments below. We plan on having Drew back soon in the future, and we can get to all those questions. Part 2 of this chat with Drew will be dropping soon, so make sure you subscribe down below and turn on those alerts so you don't miss out on it or any of the future content that we upload. So, what is it that Drew believes is the biggest problem in how we educate young percussionists?
But yeah, I think creativity is key, man. And just from I think one of the biggest problems with percussion education in general is the lack of emphasis on ear training. And not ear training just in terms of like pitch recognition and harmonic understanding, although that's important. But just like, does this sound good or does it not sound good? Like them being able to curate their own sound. You walk in 9th grade and we have to learn these instruments, and we're told what to do. We're micromanaged through the first 5 months of this thing, where it's like, no, you play this height, you play this. Everything is you. I don't want to say everything, but things are very oftentimes told from the technical aspect, from the wrists. This is how and the teacher is telling you how to create the sound, but you're never able to be like, how did that sound to you? Did that sound good? What do you think about that? You know what I'm saying? Hey, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do with this moment right here? What's happening right here? Oh, it sounds like it's the end of the phrase. Oh, really? So what should happen? Oh, I think we should probably get louder. Yeah, nice. Let's try that together. Hey, who are we listening for? All of these kinds of questions is just kind of missing, especially from that first aspect. And a lot of times you don't get into that. That's almost considered like higher level stuff that you really get into in the college realm in terms of percussion. you know, and I think that's kind of tragic. So, and a challenge with that is we hire techs to teach percussion who aren't there the whole year. So their whole job is to the short-term goal of getting these results and these scores and these numbers. So they don't have like they don't really care what happens after they leave. You know, then you walk into a concert band and these kids are just like, you know, playing and they're not even thinking about how things sound. And now you can't get them to really appreciate how important the cymbal roll is in the tapestry of a full ensemble crescendo in your wind ensemble, because they've never, what do they care? They just know they got to play whatever cymbal they found on the metal stand with no cushion on it. You know, and then you're like, why don't you have a rubber? Why don't you have a thing on that? You know, oh, I don't know, I couldn't find it. Well, you have to. Not like, why? You know, not like, how does that sound to you? You know, think about it. Oh, you're right, that doesn't sound good. Hey, do you know why I wrote a 15-inch fast crash on that quarter note roll at 180 and instead of that 20-inch dry ride for that? Oh, I didn't think about that. Well, let's listen to it for 2 seconds and hear the difference. Try to roll that at 180 for 1/4 note with that 20-inch dry ride. Oh, you can't. Now hear how this one sounds. Oh yeah, it's so much easier. Great. So now we're in your wind ensemble and you're playing Elsa's and you're picking a suspended cymbal. They're like, why would you pick a 16-inch fast crash or this 4-measure cymbal roll at 60 beats per minute? You wouldn't do that. You would pick the 20-inch large classic orchestral, right? But they can choose that. But our biggest power as percussionists is our choices, right? You guys don't have that many choices. You have a few. I mean, you have a lot of choices here and here, a mouthpiece, what kind of instrument. But we have we can choose our mallet hardness, the density, the length, the feel. We can choose what instrument. We could choose the drum head. We could choose how we tune the drum head. We could choose where we muffle the drum head. Our choices are our power. And we take all those choices away from every percussionist walking right in the door freshman year because we got to win some competitions. And, you know, which is why my ensembles tend to be dirty all the way up until late September, which is a bad choice this year because in Georgia season ends in late September, but it ends in late October. But what happens though, and I know I'm going on with this, but what happens though is once they get it, they won't get it wrong. My favorite and there's always a moment, like at Boca specifically, but there's always a moment when I'm listening and I'm like, they're just so dirty. They can't get this. Like, I don't know if I did the right thing. Sometime in the late September, early October. And then one day I'll be like, that was dirty. And I'll go to look at them and they'll be like, and I just know they got it. And then I'll hear them fix it on the fly. I'll hear them make adjustments and I'll hear all of those things. And they're doing it. And then from then on, I'm just sitting here like this the whole time. You know, I'm just a perspective from that point. I'm just doing what Edric does, which is this. You know, and that's the goal you want to get to, where they're the ones fixing it. Otherwise, it's my ensemble, and I want it to be their ensemble. You know, and if you take away their choices, it'll never be their ensemble.